Well, time for us to have that adolescent conversation, but there's even an addition to it that will be helpful to all of us. We'll get into that in a bit. But Multi TV and HFC Bank, in partnership with Sethi Realty, presents the next edition of the Habitat Fair at the West Hills Mall, wager between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. daily on the 24th and 25th of July 2015. Come meet over 40 exhibitors in the housing sector during the next mini fair to acquire your dream home or property. Just mark the date: Friday 24th of July to Saturday 25th of July 2015 at the West Hills Mall, wager from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. It's the perfect place to find your perfect home. Individuals and corporate bodies are welcome to this housing fair. Remember, entry to the fair is free for all. The main Habitat Fair continues at the Accra International Conference Center from the 7th to the 9th of August 2015 between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. daily. To exhibit your housing products and services, you can contact Multi TV on 0540 106 344 or 0540 111 945. You could also call 0242 737 631. Sponsors: HFC Bank, Possible Together, Noble Realty, Own a Noble Property Today, and Sethi Realty. Fair and affordable housing is the basic right for all. So just mark the date for the Habitat Fair 2015, that mini fair, which is coming off at the West Hills Mall inside wager, and the very big one. But let's have our adolescence conversation now. Adolescence is the period of developmental transition between childhood and adulthood, involving multiple physical, intellectual, personality and social developmental stages. And you know that it even gets more complicated when there is a disability involved. My guest this morning for us to discuss this issue is Dr. Ebenezer Sakamafo, who is a lecturer, also a researcher. So good morning, Doc. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, madam.
Let's talk about the common issues that adolescents would be battling with. But first of all, let's get the ages clear. Between what ages are we talking about?
Definitely, an adolescent ranges between the ages of 13 to 18 years.
Okay. So what are the common issues that they will be battling with generally, you know, when you fall between those age brackets?
We all know, we've been there before. And when we are in that age years, you are seen as sometimes troublesome.
Yeah.
Yes, nobody understands you and understands your world. And once we don't understand an adolescent or adolescent and their world, we brand them with different interpretations. But beneath that are critical issues and challenges. An adolescent tries to find intimacy and identity, and like any normal human being, intimacy comes with serious challenges, and identity very serious challenges.
And they're looking for a place to belong, if you like.
Yes, to belong, and also to present yourself, that is who you are. And don't forget, an adolescent comes from the childhood years, and a child who has been babied, pampered, clothed, now trying to be independent. Serious challenges.
Yeah.
So first challenge for the adolescent is lack of support, adequate support. And it comes with a lot of critical issues.
If you say lack of support, because I thought that children like that would want to be left alone, you know, they want to figure out things themselves, so you want to give them some space. Is it wrong to do that?
It's not wrong, but we as adult providers, we need to understand that an adolescent is seen in the context of a community, a society, and a family. Okay. And an adolescent trying to find a space comes with risk. And how can we as adults manage and support the adolescent to reduce those risks? And not necessarily also infringing on his or her independence.
Yeah.
And that comes with a challenge.
Yeah.
And
I think it's a challenge for both the adolescents and also the guardian or the parents.
You're right. So most of the time, in most families, in most institutions, there are serious conflict, whether it's a high conflict or low conflict, between the adolescent and the caretaker, the parent, or the authorities of the institution.
Amazing. But you also disclosed something to me, which a lot of us, I think, we don't even think about, that a lot of the mental issues also starts at this age.
Yeah. At that age period, between 13 to 18 years, there's a lot and significant brain development. And studies have shown that this is where 80 to 90% of the brain, in terms of reading, in terms of learning, in terms of social relationship, is formed. And the connections between these different cells also comes together. So if care is not taken and we take things for granted, something may go wrong which we may not know. And with years accumulated stress, pressure, bad words, bad description, both up to mental problems. Though it may be silent at that time, with life difficulties in the adult years, then it becomes maybe exacerbated.
I was also reading about the fact that young people between these ages that you describe tend to get depressed a lot. And I was thinking to myself, why would they, get to that stage? Because there's not a lot to think about, really. It's not, you don't take care of yourself. You just have to figure out the adventurous things that you want to do, really.
We all know that childhood is a time of play and enjoyment, because most of your needs are taken care of by your parents. But beneath that, the adolescent is also trying to find his or her identity and also establish intimacy within that complex set of things going on. If the adolescent don't get the required support and the relevant support, some may find themselves maybe isolated, misunderstood, and with time become depressed. But even that depends on a lot of factors. The development of the brain is under so many influences: the gene, the family, the environment, and the culture. So all this complex set of issues may get at maybe an adolescent who may lack the critical support.
Let's get into another crucial area which you've done a bit of research in. These are complex issues we've just described, very challenging. It sounds easy, but it's not. But even when that child or that young person has a disability, it makes it even more complicated. Tell us about this research you did.
Yeah, we did a research sponsored by a foreign agency to try to understand the experiences of the adolescent within the context of the family. And some of the findings very interesting and personally also shocking for me, because we take a lot of things for granted, and in so doing we neglect some of the important issues as a society, as adults, should be looking at. We know that the adolescent is the future leader, or the youth is the future leader, or the child is the future leader, and yet there are very few support systems, formal support systems for this category of population.
When you say formal support system, is it like a counselors, or what exactly do you mean?
You've said it right. There are two types of support system: the informal support system and the formal support system. The informal support system comes from the family, from the close extended family relationship. And then comes the formal support system. The state has a duty and obligation to provide, to support the adolescent to grow healthily. so as to become a matured citizen of the nation. And not until the state is able to do its bit in collaboration with the family, the adolescent, given the magnitude of the challenges of the need, may not get the optimum services he or she may require to grow healthily. And we know in Ghana there are very limited formal support systems for this age bracket group. One, they are taken for granted. Two, they don't have a vote. And so they don't have a voice. They are seen but not recognized unless they get into trouble and we hear of their issues.
Okay, so let's get back to those who would have some sort of disability.
Like I said, this, we don't even know the number of disabled adolescents or teenagers in Ghana. And this is worrying, because I think that society owes it a duty to care for these unfortunate ones. Disability is a broad spectrum ranging from different types of disability. It can be physical, it can be mental, it can be social. People have social disability, which is not well.
If you have a social disability, what would that be?
Your attitude is sick. Your attitude is sick. And we talk very little about that. And people, psychological disability, emotional disability. These are complex set of things.
So share with us some kind of experience with those you came across.
This was a small study, though the sample size not very big, but for us it was significant given the intensity and depth of the study. And we did two places, Accra, Osu, as a research site, and we also chose Asante Reason, Manson, as a, and what we found was serious for me, and it humbled me and mine, all that I've learned and all that I've researched. Given the fact that the age adolescent comes with its own challenges and the extent of disability that they may have, it compounds and aggravates their needs, whatever it may be. Particularly, adolescents with cerebral palsy disability are the worst off. These are the few ones that cannot do anything for themselves. They have to depend on their parent 24/7. And 24/7 is 24/7. From morning, whenever their morning may be, to night. The parent have to be a full-time carer of the needs of that child. And these children, we find out that the parents are in serious difficulty. They are left alone in their own family, because you know tradition, culture kicks in. When you give birth to a child with such a condition, a vegetable, they bring all sorts of spiritual meaning into it. For example, people may think that the family is cursed, or there is a shrine that is working against them, or a juju. So this family are seen as negative in the family. They've brought something unspeakable, unseen, and unheard of into the family. So their own family reject them.
I don't know, when the family that's supposed to be there rejects you, what did you realize the relationship between such a child and the parents? Because you know it has an effect on even the marriage itself. So sometimes some marriages break up because of this, you know, because a child is brought forth and that child is not, you know, like perfect, if I may put it. And so it brings about breakups. So you'd find that a child like that is living with just one of the parents.
Yeah, it's true, of course. Even those families that are still together, they are very weak in terms of relationship. The woman is overburdened.
I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, 24/7.
Yes, of course. And not only the burden of, they are also sick because of the extent of care. They carry the child to washroom, to bath, to feed, to clothe, to dress, to do everything.
Somebody who is even like 18 years.
Yeah, 18 years, 19 years, 17 years, 16 years. And a mother carrying such a child throughout the years up to that 18 or 19 or 16 years. So you imagine, the mother doesn't have time for herself, let alone to think about going out to church or to any place. And given the fact that there are no support systems for them, and the family also may neglect them, then the woman is left alone in her world.
So, you know, as a society, what should we begin to do for these young ones?
If there's any one thing that the society or the Ghanaian society should do, I think is to develop a formal service system targeting this specific population group. Their needs are complex and multiple, so we cannot take it for granted that the little support systems like the healthcare, education will reach them. Even those who are not severely disabled, they go to school and the teachers cannot even manage them because their needs are so much. The teacher is teaching a class of 40, 50, so they are also burdened with one child. With time, they drop out of school. Out of the 46 children, 40 were out of school.
What your research was based on?
Yes.
Because they were not getting proper care in school?
Some could never go to school because they are vegetables. And there's no home education for them, or it's not even necessary, given that even their basic needs are not met. How much more you think of education?
So it comes down to poverty then, in such a situation?
For me, yes and no. Because the situation of the disabled cannot give the mother or the father enough room to go and work. So it's not poverty, but it is a condition of a child facilitating the poverty situation of the parent. The two, even if they are husband and wife, only one can work at a point in time. And given the conditions in the country, you cannot make it. And that child also commands about 60% of the family resources. So if there are about 4 or 5 children in the family, it's a serious problem. So the state needs to arrange special services for this population group. Looking at the broader adolescent population, in Ghana, there is no formal services targeting this range of 13 to 18 years. It is only here bit and pieces. Maybe the church is doing small, maybe a community is doing small, maybe a school is doing small. But the greater majority of them, these are the future leaders. These are the unfortunate few ones. The state needs to do something for them.
Is that the purpose for the research, though?
The purpose was to look at the parent experiences with these disabled children.
Okay.
So it's broad and experience, social experience, economic, care, psychological, physical, nutrition. So
immediately, what do you think we should do?
Immediately, I think there is a facility in place taking care of needy, vulnerable people in Ghana. the department or the Ministry of Gender.
Are you going to say social welfare? Because
yeah, I think social welfare needs to lead that program. It should be a specialized program. For example, I went to a course last week in Ireland. There's a special early intervention program for adolescents. In Canada, I work on a similar program, early intervention for vulnerable adolescents.
Oh, okay. Early intervention for vulnerable
adolescents.
Okay.
In UK, Sure Start continues to adolescents.
But in Ghana, we have nothing like that.
Nothing.
So they're just there.
Yeah, they're just there. If the family cannot take care of you, your problems compound, and the society describe you as troublesome adolescent years. You don't understand them.
But, you know, I know that we have to leave our conversation here, but I think that we should do a follow-up, you know, with a particular family. Let's see how they challenge it, and maybe we can hear from them as well what they think we can all do to help. That would be good. Yeah,
so what we are trying to do now is to start training for parents, for childcare workers to understand. First, we have to understand the special needs of this population group. We have to understand the special things that this population needs. What drives them to do what they do? We have to. So we're trying to develop a training for the general society, parents, families, church workers, professional students, to study that specialized area.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's one piece that we also want to share. So if we can also lay our hands on one, it will be good. But thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right, that's Dr. Ebenezer Sakamanfo is a lecturer and researcher. This is one subject that we definitely have to touch on again. But this is where we have to end our program for today. But remember that one eye is on the Talensi by-elections, which is happening. Our colleague will be giving us updates as and when we do have things to share with you right here on the Joy News channel. Thanks for joining us on the AM show. Hi.